thank you so much. This has been a really exciting week at Aspen Ideas. For me personally, I've gotten to interview some extraordinary people, but I can tell you, every person I've spoken to here has said, when is the basketball panel? So here we are for the main event. Thank you both so much. I'm going to start with either one of you. What is it about this moment that has the world captivated? NCAA women's basketball, even the WNBA. What is it about this moment that has the universe saying, damn, I want to watch? Kim?
Well, I'm going to let age speak before beauty, so Gino's got the mic.
Yeah, that's about right.
Yeah.
If you want to be honest about it.
No.
Okay. So if you want me to be honest about it, I think the biggest thing that drives anything today is social media. So, you know, when people talk about how great the game is today, it's not any greater than it was. Just met a bunch of people here that remember basketball from 2002. We were the first team to play in the Dome, and we had 30,000 people at the game. Does anybody even know that? Yeah, some people do, right? Then the following year, we played in the Final Four at the Georgia Dome, and we had 30,000 people there. Anybody remember that? So if you don't know that, then you look around today and you say, wow, women's basketball was just born 12 months ago. Why? Because that's what the power of social media. So today, what the social media aspect of the culture has done is discovered something that has been going on for quite some time and elevated it to a point where now it's mainstream, which it wasn't before. And I think that's a great thing for everybody playing, everybody watching, and everybody who's going to play and everybody who's going to watch. So I like to think that, you know, it's something that was bound to happen, and now we have to make sure that it continues to happen.
But does that disappoint you? Because you
No.
can say, we've had the players, we've had the programs, we've had the coaches. Where were you until now?
No, I'm not one of those people. I'm not one of those people. People did what they did back then for whatever reason that they did it. I'm not going to go back and rewrite history, and I'm not going to judge people on what they did and what they didn't do, 22 years ago. They did what they thought they had to do. They thought they did what they wanted to do. You know, just like, you know, I think whether it's WNBA or anything, you know, hey, we need to have more franchises. Well, you can't just walk up to somebody and say, I want a new franchise. People have to want to buy into the franchise. So people are going to do what they're going to do when they feel like it's time to do it. Everyone feels like they wish it would have done. Every time I talk to Sue Bird, she says, I wish I was born 20 years sooner, or later rather, I should say, later. But you weren't. So I'm not going back there, and I'm not going to be these people that complain about why didn't we? But it is important to remind people that there was something going on back then, and it just didn't have what we have today, because what we have today didn't exist back then.
Kim, what do you think it is about this moment?
I think it's certainly what Gino said. I think it's, timing in life is everything. I've always believed that. And the time right now is different in the respect of branding, NIL, transfer portal. But I'll go back to when I played. There was one game on television when I played, and it was a national championship game. So I think media, we don't like y'all, but media coverage, I think television coverage, so certainly social media, it exposes us. It lets people that aren't your normal fans come into our game now. And I think that is a big thing that's happening right now, is that you have fans coming to watch women's basketball that have never watched it before.
How would you describe the Caitlin Clark effect?
Well, I give people their dues. Her institution where she went to school loves women's basketball. Connecticut loves women's basketball. Baylor loved women's basketball. LSU loves women's basketball. And I think those fans are going to always follow their players. And she played in 2 national championship games, and brought attention to our game. I think Angel Reese brought attention to our game. It's a good thing. I don't think there's anything bad. I don't like what they do to Angel Reese from a social media perspective, but Angel can handle it. But I just think that it's a good thing. There's nothing wrong with it. I think those two players in particular know they're not the best players in the WNBA right now, but they're going to be Hall of Famers someday. So whatever you can bring to the table as a rookie, bring it. And I think they've brought a lot of attention.
Gino, how would you describe sort of the Caitlin Clark effect on the game?
I would say it's complicated.
Tell us more.
I knew you'd say that. It's complicated in the sense that we in the sports world are not that much different than we in the regular world. So if you take sports out of it, and you look around what's happening in the world, obviously it's going to filter down to all aspects. And basketball, women's basketball just happens to be one of those things. So you take somebody like Caitlin Clark, who's a terrific college player, tremendous college player, who was doing things that very few college players had ever done before. And you wrap that up into a nice package that you can sell. And you put that on social media, and the fans go crazy. And Kim said, fans that had never watched college basketball before, and now all of a sudden they turn on to watch college basketball because there's a kid out there doing things that haven't been done before. So, people ask me, how would you describe Caitlin Clark? I would say, well, she's like Pete Maravich. And the number of people here that remember Pete Maravich is probably like, okay? And he did things that, before that had never been done before. But like anything else, things get blown out of proportion, right? So there's a narrative created around it. Caitlin Clark broke Pete Maravich's record for most points scored in her career. Well, that's bullshit. Because Caitlin Clark had 4 years to do it and a three-point line. Pete Maravich did it in 3 years with no three-point line, and he would have scored 6,000 points. So the narrative gets created, and people get elevated based on today's values, and we need somebody to compare it to. So that made the story even bigger, and now more people latched onto it. And to her credit, she handles it beautifully. And as Kim said, her and Angel Reese are not the two best players in the WNBA, but they're the two most talked about players in the WNBA right now. And if you're some of the players, going back to your question, you can moan and groan about why weren't they talking about me when I was here? Well, or you can just appreciate what it is and take advantage of it now. But at some point, it's always going to be about the game. It's not going to be about all the other stuff off the court and all the other, extracurricular stuff that goes on. At some point, they're going to have to, all of them are going to have to be really, really good. And then the last thing I would say is, when you put yourself out there on social media, whether you do it or someone else does it, you have to be prepared for all the great things that people say about you and understand not all of that is true, and then be prepared for all the other stuff that comes at you, which probably isn't all true. And unfortunately, people want it to be just one way, and it can't be one way. So that's the journey that these two kids have to navigate now.
Kim, how difficult is that? Now that you have these superstar players, and you always had superstar players, but now that they are these massive brands putting themselves out there, right? Someone like Angel, who takes so much guff, so much heat on social media. How difficult is it for these women to coach these women? Because, it's a mental game as much as anything else.
You'll be amazed at how strong they are mentally. I think just their preparation in basketball makes them tough, but they're human.
Yeah.
They're human. Here's the difference, probably, Gino and I. We don't give a rip about social media. We don't have it. We don't read it. We don't care. We're protected.
You're not wearing those sparkles for your health.
Yeah, we're protected, right? And those sparkles are another story. I'll have to tell you how that began. But They're not. They're young. They're 18, 19, 20-year-olds that live on it. They live on it. And I tell them, as he just said, if you're going to live on it, you better be prepared for what you're going to read on it. And we try as institutions to, provide people that can help them navigate that. But at the end of the day, we're not with them 24/7. They're going to read it. They're going to see it. And you just try to coach them as best you can.
The great news is the NCAA women's basketball is reaching new heights, is getting all this attention, right? The most recent TV rights deal, 10 times the size of the last one. How much pressure does that put on you all to deliver?
As coaches, to deliver that, well, there's always pressure on coaches to deliver, because if we don't deliver, we get fired.
But now the audience is so much bigger.
That's right. So if we don't deliver, we get fired. First, we get fired on social media, and then we get fired in real life. See? And the dilemma now is players don't get fired. If players don't deliver, they just pack up and leave and go to another school. So there's a disconnect there between what our obligation is to the game, which is a lot of pressure, and having to take 12 people and try to get them to play together and try to live up to what the expectation level is. And then you've got the player on this side who has no obligations, who has tremendous freedom to come and go wherever they want to go. So the adults that run this organization have not figured out how to make this better for the athletes and better for the coaches so the game can continue to grow. And I'm afraid if they don't get a grip on it, this media deal. I remember 30 years ago when we were trying to get more games on television, and one of the guys in the Big East, which we were at the forefront of basketball on TV, Dave Gavitt was he invented Big Monday on ESPN. And he said, listen, everybody wants to be on TV. Everybody wants more exposure. But guess what? If you're not good enough, instead of getting exposure, you get exposed. So when you put all this stuff on TV and you get the big TV back, you better put a good product on the floor, something that people can rally around, okay? Why was women's basketball so big to begin with? Why was it growing so? Because you could build a relationship with a player, okay? The kids at LSU, you know that kid's going to be there pretty much for 4 years. You get to know them, appreciate them, grow with them, watch them develop. Now that kid's in 3 different schools in 4 years. They become mercenaries. So we have to be careful that we don't shoot ourselves in the foot trying to make, everybody happy and then lose this great thing that we're actually doing.
But at least they're at 3 different schools. If it were the men, it's one and done. There's not even time to follow their story and follow.
I'd rather have one and done, to be honest with you. I'd rather them be able to go professionally at the end of their first year. And I'm saying that if that was the case, we wouldn't have 11 national championships if there was one and done. Because every one of my great players would have left after year 1. But that's okay, because this is what I'm doing. I'm coming here, I want to be a professional basketball player, and then I'm going to leave as soon as I'm good enough to leave. Right now, they come here and they go, I'm going to go to school, get my degree. No, they're not. They're coming there to play basketball, and if they don't like the basketball, they go someplace else to play basketball. And it's usually for money. So they're the same as pros, but they don't have the same opportunities that the men have in professional basketball. So we've created an environment where they're confused. Are we pros? Do we get paid to play? Or we got to go to school? Do we have to get a degree? What is it that we're in college for?
Kim, what do you think?
Well, we could be here all day talking about the transfer portal, and I'm not sure it'll help Gino nor myself if we really say how we feel, because we're guilty of taking transfers. That's just the nature of the beast right now.
Yep.
We lose kids as well. There is no more 4-year players when you go and start recruiting them and say, by the time they're a junior and senior, we're going to be good. Hell, you don't even know if you're going to get to that junior and senior year. So you have to adapt. You have to adjust. I think the greatest compliment that can be said about, we're older guys. We're not young. We're not just starting out in this business. We've been around a long time. And I think if I had to say a compliment to Gino and really to myself is we've been able to adapt. We've been able to adapt and survive this new generation of rules and everything that we have to handle now. And doesn't mean we like it, doesn't mean we agree with it, but I'll use LSU as an example. LSU was one of the first institutions in the country to embrace NIL. If you'll remember in Times Square, it had LSU, NIL, and Livy Dunn was on, all the buildings in New York City. And we embraced it. And you see where we are today. That was before I ever even was hired at LSU. And so you better embrace it or you're going to be unemployed. You better embrace it or you're not going to get some of these recruits. What I would like to do is what I did. I hired an assistant. You're in charge of NIL because when I grew up, that was cheating. That was just cheating. And I don't want to learn all that. You're in charge, you take care of the NIL, and let's go play ball and just let me coach and recruit.
Do you regret LSU embracing NIL and sort of where we are with it?
No, I thought they had a vision of what was to come when nobody else did. I thought everybody else was kind of reluctant and fighting it. And I just thought the people in charge at LSU said, you can fight it all you want, it's coming, and you better embrace it.
Gino,
I think it's great that the players have an opportunity to earn money playing. I really do.
It doesn't get harder to coach them?
No. It doesn't get harder to coach them to the extent they're like, well, this kid's making money, so now they're not going to listen to you. No, that doesn't exist. But think about what NIL means, what it was supposed to mean. Name, image, and likeness. What does that mean? That means I can go to school, and if the school sells jerseys with my name on it, I should get a piece of that. I'm in. If the school puts me on the ticket brochure, I'm in. Refrigerator stickers with my face on it, I get paid for that. I want to do a car commercial for a car company, I'm in on that. I think they should get on that. Remember, name, image, and likeness. That's what it means. Instead, what it means now is now it's legal. So now it's legal for me to say, I'll give you $500,000 to come play for me. So is that really name, image, or likeness?
No.
No. So whatever it was meant to be, these adults, what they don't understand is, generally speaking, coaches are just criminals who haven't gone to jail yet. So by the time the NCAA finished writing this, they'd already figured out how to take advantage of this new rule. See? So there has to be some kind of guardrails put on this, but me, I'm in favor of them getting paid. I hate the transfer portal. I don't hate that they're getting paid. I hate that they can just get up and leave anytime they want. And then you know what they say? Well, coaches can leave whenever they want and go coach in another school. Really? I have a $5 million buyout. All right? So, kid, you want to come play for me? You leave after 1 year, you owe me this. No, I'll sue the NCAA. Well, then what the hell are we talking about here? What's right for me isn't right for you? So I'm all in favor of them getting paid. I just hate the fact that there's no obligation. You sign no contract when you come and play for Kim or myself, LSU, or Connecticut, or any other school for that matter.
Does the transfer portal change the way that you coach them, change the way that you treat them? Because I'm guessing when you're recruiting an athlete, you behave a little different than when you're coaching the athlete.
Oh, no. I don't. What you see is what you get with me.
I have a feeling that might be the case.
No. No. That's what I love about college athletics. There are a lot of things going on right now that you're having to adapt to, but NIL does not affect how you coach a kid. Transfer portal does not affect how you coach a kid. Back in the day, you transferred usually for one reason. You weren't good enough, you weren't playing enough, you don't foresee you playing anymore, I got to go somewhere else. Now you're starters, you're All-Americans, you're all-conference players. They just go with the wind and decide they want to go somewhere else. And it's not always for more money through the NIL. It could be they don't like somebody you sign. It could be they got a new partner. They could be they got a new. that's the part that I agree with Gino. That is so hard to navigate, because when you go out and recruit, we will go out in July and we will recruit. We'll sit in gyms and we'll go in that gym and we'll go, I can really sign about 4 kids in this year's class. Really? Well, how do you know by the time you get back to campus that they hadn't packed their bags and decided, you know what, I just got bored, I'm going to go somewhere else? So it messes with your preparation, not for today, but for the future. And that's the hard part, is you don't really know what your roster is going to look like.
It's forced you into ultimate short-termism as a coach, because you can't plan for the next season, the next year, the next month. Yeah?
Yep.
Well, true. And it forces you in recruiting to decide, what are you recruiting? Are you recruiting to win this year, which unfortunately a lot of times you have to? Or are you recruiting because you still think that you can develop players over a period of a couple years? So depending on what kind of kid you bring in, you may know, I'm losing this kid, I'm taking a chance on this kid. This is not the kind of kid I normally recruit, but I'm doing it because I have to win. Now, fortunately, I don't think either one of us is in that situation at this point, okay? But I would say that when I recruit somebody, I tell them up front, why do you want to come here? You want to come because of what we have and what we're able to help you get. So you want our help to get something you've always wanted, okay? So if you come there for that reason, and then I show you this is what it's going to take for you to get that, and you go, you know what? I don't like that. Well, then go someplace else. You know, it's like I tell them, when your parents went to go buy a car and they said, how much is that car? $30,000. Why have 22? Can I have it? No. This is what it costs, and this is what you're going to have to pay. And if you don't want to do it that way, go someplace else. I want to know that during their freshman year. I don't want to find out when we get to the Final Four that that kid doesn't have it. That kid's not all bought in. So the idea of, like, can we coach him a certain way? Yeah. Hell, if we're paying them to come to school, I coach them harder. Hey, you're getting paid to go to school here, even more than you were getting paid, which is a great bargain, by the way.
So many NCAA superstars just in this last year are now moving up to the WNBA. What do you think WNBA is going to look like in this next year with all these new stars? Kim?
I think it's going to look like what you see right now. I read something the other day that Magic Johnson compared Reese and Clark to him and Bird. That's my era, so I got excited. You know, I was Celtics, Lakers man. I was glued to the TV. And I thought his analogy was spot on, but here's where he didn't continue. It's exciting now. It was exciting during the Bird era and you know, the Magic Johnson era, and everybody was glued in. But along came another player called Michael Jordan. That's not going to last forever. So you're going to have to continue to have those good players. Maybe not a rivalry like a Clark and a Reese, but you're going to have those players that continue to bring attention. We have the talent. I mean, good Lord, Gino said it best. How many top draft picks has he had in the WNBA, and how many sellouts did those young ladies play in front of? What is different is the media, the social media. So they're doing their part, but who's going to do the part after they become the older players? Who's going to be the Michael Jordan of women's basketball that continues it on for the WNBA?
Yeah, I agree with Kim a lot on that. First of all, I don't even know how many players you're allowed to have on each roster in the WNBA. At one time, they could only have 11.
I think it's still 11 right now.
Okay, so why are you adding a new franchise if you can't even field an entire team? Think about that. We don't even have 12. I think in the NBA, they have like 15, 16 guys because they also have guys that they can call up at any time. So you don't even have 12 players on your team. You only have 11. two kids get hurt or whatever. So coaches are always complaining, we need more bodies on our team. You can only have 11. Why? It's cost cutting. What is it? I don't know. But now we're going to add another franchise. And they're going to have to find 11 or 12 players. Well, why don't you just add one of those guys to every team? No, because the franchise coming in is paying $50 million to get in. And that money goes right to the owners. So is it about we want to give more opportunity to more players? No, we just want to make more money.
Do you think the WNBA has bitten off more than they can chew right now?
I don't know. I think they're doing a great thing. I think their heart's in the right place. But I think you have to be great at what you do before you can go on and say, I want more. And I think right now there's a lot of kids that are saying, I was the 7th pick in the draft and I got cut. All right, so now they're going to put me on another team. All right, so that gives that kid an opportunity to play on a lousy team that's going to win 2 games, as opposed to being on an established team already. So I would say, follow the normal guidelines of first we're strong within our own, and then we add. I had a conversation one time with a guy in the NHL, and I said, we played in Toronto, and I said, the Toronto Maple Leafs haven't won a championship since 60 years or whatever the heck it was. He goes, yeah, because there was only 12 teams back then. Now there's 30, so now you have a 1 in 30 chance of winning. So why are there 30 teams? Well, because it's financially good to have 30 teams. That doesn't mean you're going to have 30 good teams. So I want more opportunity for our players. I want the kids that graduate from LSU and UConn that want to play professional basketball. I want them to have that opportunity. And I want them to have an opportunity to make enough money where they can actually live and follow their dreams. But I think the coaches need more players on their teams right now more than they need another franchise or two.
Kim, do you think that the WNBA may have boxed themselves in here? So many people who are angry about the pay disparity, who are angry about what Caitlin Clark was getting paid. Many of those people had never been to a game, still haven't purchased a ticket for a game, and don't understand how the money is different. Do you think the WNBA is now in a spotlight and it might not work out?
Now, let me preface any remark I make. I'm a college coach. My focus is on
But
college.
you've got an opinion about it.
I do, but my knowledge is with college. So whatever I say, it's minimal knowledge, just a thought process. I agree. I have seen so many great college players not make it in the WNBA. And I've had so many of those players. And they would look at me and they would go, Coach, we kicked that kid's ass in college. How can she make it in the pros and I can't? That's a hard pill for them to swallow. So they want that opportunity. So what do? They go overseas. That's where they make their money. They're still going overseas to make their money. So to answer your question, a lot of true WNBA people want coaching in the WNBA to get better. And so I say, well, are you going to pay what you're paying college coaches? Well, they make more than the players. And that just stunned me. Have you thought about that? The coaches in the WNBA make more than draft picks. I don't keep up with it close enough. I didn't know that. And so it was a great conversation I had, but because I'm not knowledgeable, I thought, wow, you can be a first rounder and that's all you make in the WNBA. So the Caitlin Clarks and the Angel Reeses and all of them that are getting the NIL deals in college, obviously they're going to carry that with them because they want to make money. But that's a stunning remark somebody made to me, is that the coaches in the WNBA make more money than draft picks. You never saw that in the NBA. You don't see that really in college, but I don't have the answers for the WNBA. Gino may, but I'm not as invested in it as I am in the college game.
Well, why do you think, Gino, there's a drop-off in interest, right, from the ultimate fandom in college basketball, and then why is there that drop-off?
Well, I've always said this, and I hope I hope I'm wrong in the future, but women's college basketball fans up to this point were not necessarily fans of women's basketball. They were fans of their school.
Yep.
Okay, so LSU fans weren't going to tune in a Iowa versus Michigan State game. They're going to watch LSU play. And fans of UConn are UConn basketball fans in women's basketball. They're not fans of women's basketball. Now, all of a sudden, everybody wants that to change like that. So it's going to take a while, because when your player now leaves LSU, UConn, or whatever, and goes to the WNBA, their focus changes to who's coming in next to my school, to the school that I support. So it's a different dynamic than it is on the men's side, and we have to catch up. I think it's going to be a catch-up. As these players go on to the WNBA and they have exposure and they're really good, like it's happening right now, and it goes on for a while, then I think that will change, and fans will become more fans of the game. And the game is going to have to be really, really, really good to hold on to those fans. That's what I would say. You know, but it's not just in women's basketball. Do you think LSU football fans are as crazy about what the New Orleans Saints are doing as they are about what LSU is doing? Probably not. Probably not. And kind of that's where it is. So the casual fan, we have to kind of bring in to the women's game at the WNBA level and at the college level. Because right now, the diehards, they're just fans of their particular school.
That reminds me of something that you've said before. You don't like to say that you coach women's basketball.
I don't like it. I don't like when people separate it. Like, I coach women's basketball, you coach men's basketball. I coach basketball. You know, if you coach swimming, you coach swimming. You know?
Yeah, but swimming, it's a co-ed team. That's why you don't say you coach.
No, I'm saying
swimming.
men's swimming or women's swimming. Okay? They both got to jump in the pool, and they both got to get from here to there real fast. So I coach basketball. Okay? Whether it's men's basketball over here, women's basketball over here, they got to be able to get the ball from here to there real fast and put it in the basket. And to me, you can't do it differently. And to me, the game is the game, and it needs to be coached a certain way. And I hate the fact that too many coaches for too many years did coach their players like they were girls in high school or women's basketball in college. Disrespectful. That's disrespectful to the players themselves. Like, if you were a guy, and I coach men, and I had 3 pros on my team when I coached boys. It's disrespectful to say, well, think of it this way. You have a son and a daughter, and you want them to be Olympic swimmers. You take them to the best swimming coach in America, and he takes your son and throws him at the end of the pool and goes, swim or drown. Then he takes your daughter by the hand, come on, sweetheart, and you go down and walk into the little pool and goes, okay, we're going to start like right here. That's disrespectful. If we're going to coach a guy to be an Olympian this way, then you need to coach a woman to be an Olympian that way. Otherwise, you're being disrespectful.
Can I chime in?
I grew up in a society. I grew up in a society in Italy where, when all the guys were at war, the women ran the operation. So anybody that tells me women can't handle, right, the toughness and the mental toughness and the physical toughness and the demands that guys can handle, that's just a bunch of crap that guys have said for years to create that narrative. I don't buy it.
Gino, I'll say what you really want to say. It's sexist. Anybody disagree with that? If you followed my press conference in the playoffs, he might be in here for all I know. Just coach. Just coach the game. I have a son and I have a daughter. I'm going to teach them the same way. And just go coach the game. And that's what he's trying to say, but he's doing a really nice job as a male not to say it, right?
Yeah. You have to have a certain accent to be able to say that.
Well,
I don't have that.
You know, I've learned this. Gino and I have been around quite a while. Gino's a little bit older than I am. I've learned this. Gino's from the East Coast, right? I'm from the South. He can say the exact same damn thing, and I can say it, and who's going to get attacked? Here I am.
What?
What
You're
is
out of
that
your
about?
mind.
What is that about?
You're out of your mind.
He knows
That
we're
is so
sports
wrong.
writers.
It's
That's
unbelievable.
what it is.
If you're a guy today and you say anything about women or women's basketball that isn't part of the mainstream, your ass is in big trouble. So I don't want to hear anything about that.
It's like cursing with an English accent.
Oh,
I don't mind.
man, you know?
No,
it's just-
Gino, let me say this, and I mean this, guys. We lost some of the best in this business, the people I looked up to. And Gino, really, 11? Who wins 11 championships? It's hard. It's hard. And so to be on this stage with him is an honor for me. It really is. Because, and we go at it, but there's a respect there. I hear it all the time. What do you think of Gino? And I think a lot of women want me to answer it a certain way, and they're shocked when I answer it a different way. I respect the hell out of what he has done. And I've said this, and I'll say it to everybody. If Connecticut had big-time football, this son of a gun would be making more money than Hurley and anybody in the men's game, as deserving he should, 11. And for him to stay as committed to an institution as long as he has, kudos to Gino. And I mean that. I really mean that, because he and I have never been on a stage together like this. Maybe a Final Four or two. I'd have to think about it. But it was an honor for me to be asked, because I wanted to hear what he says. I pick up his press conferences when we play against each other, but he's seen a hell of a lot more than I have. Now, I've played the game a long time and have witnessed a lot, but you're looking at two dinosaurs here, really.
Then
Well,
is
there's
it?
a couple in the audience, too.
Yeah.
You know who you are.
Is
But you
it-
know, I'm sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt. But you know, when you are a dinosaur, you can say whatever you want to say, because you really don't care what the blowback is going to be, because you've already been hit so many times with so many different things that you get to a point where, like, you know, I'm going to say it, and I'm the messenger. You don't like it, that's your problem, not mine.
It's what makes James Carville the #1 cable news TV guest.
Why do you think he's here, Stephanie? He came to see me. That's a Louisiana boy through and through. Hell, we got half of the Cajuns in here, you know? Yeah.
Then is it sexist or disrespectful or uninformed when people are up in arms when they see Caitlin Clark getting roughed up on a court? When, truthfully, it's just how the game is played.
Yeah, but that's because they have a lot of new fans, and, you know, when you're new to something, you're kind of delusional, you know? You want it to be the way you've always seen it. And that's just
But
not
they've
the
never
way.
seen it.
They've only seen it the way
Her.
they've seen it. So they've never watched the WNBA game. They don't realize that every player in that league gets treated that way. Now, there is a certain in that, because I said this earlier, the WNBA was disrespected by all those fans saying she's going to go in there and be MVP of the league. She's going to be the leading scorer and all this. They were delusional. That's what I'm saying. It was disrespectful to all the players that play in that league that are really, really damn good. So, no, that's to me, it's a WNBA problem. It's not a Caitlin Clark problem. And this idea of, hey, this is just a physical league and you need to live with it. Well, I never heard the NBA take pride in the fact that we're a physical league and we're allowed to beat the shit out of each other. I've never heard them say that. But in the WNBA, that's taken as a badge of courage. Yeah, you know what? We can beat the hell out of each other because, you know what? We want to prove we're tough. No, all you're doing is ruining the game by doing that,
Kim?
I think.
Well, again, I just love physical play. You know, that's probably why, you know, I coach the way I do, no blood, no foul, right? It's defense, you know. Do you understand in the WNBA how long some of those players have played the game? I mean, you got Taurasi, you got Griner, who played for me. Those guys have been playing for a long, long time. And let me say this, they welcome, and if I can speak for them, they don't have a problem with Angel and Clark. Those girls really have done nothing to make them not like them. It's all the outside noise that aggravates those older players. I'll give this analogy. In Louisiana, we got a lot of Catholics, especially in South Louisiana. And boy, they got baby after baby after baby. They don't know when to stop. They're scared the Pope's going to
Only Irish Catholics. Don't put that on the Italian Catholics.
Gino likes me, you see.
Don't put that on the Italian Catholics.
No. I knew a thing or two about the Catholics because that's all I dated. If their last name ended in a vowel, I dated them. So you got the first child, and then 4 children later, you got the baby. Well, that baby wants to beat the hell out of that first one, right? But that first one doesn't want that baby to beat him. So that's what you got going on in the WNBA. It's called competition. But that's good. I've never been anywhere where competition was a bad thing. And so I think that's a lot of what's going on, is that the outside noise wants to create narratives that are not there. The older players welcome those young players. The young players are looking at them, wanting their approval. Hey, if you work together, it all is a great product. And I think you're going to see it continue until you find the next Michael Jordan when these young players get older. And it has to continue. Let's see.
All right, we're going to open up to some questions. Gary, I know you've been waiting for 3 days, and you're wearing a sparkle sweatshirt in this heat just for Kim, so let it rip, brother.
First off, congratulations on the two of you being two of the greatest basketball coaches of all time at the college level, men or women. What you've done is Dan Gable-like, and what you've done with numerous schools, taking them to championships, is amazing, and I wore this for you. Okay, I want to drill down on the invigoration of the popularity of women's basketball at the professional level. I agree with Magic that Caitlin and Angel are, the Larry Bird and Magic Johnson to invigorate. I agree you need a Michael Jordan, but we're here right now needing a growth and popularity of women's basketball. The Dream Team took Christian Laettner. Now, granted, that was when they had to take one college player. Why not, for the growth of women's basketball, take Caitlin on the Olympic team?
All right, now I'm going to answer this as objective as I can, having been an Olympian myself, and what it took for
me. And I watched you at Louisiana Tech when you were Peppa's
What it
Nails.
took for me to get on that Pat Summitt team in 1984. It wasn't the fact that we beat Pat's team every year we played her. It wasn't the fact that we won 2 national championships. It wasn't the fact that I was this cute little point guard with braids. People don't care about that. Put the 12 best players who have earned the right to be there. And there is a process. I don't know specifics, but back when I played, you played every summer. You were on a team every summer. You traveled. You basically put in your dues. And I'm assuming that is how the Olympic team has continued to be selected. The game of basketball is more than a popularity contest. The most popular NBA player is not really one of the best players. And you can't just put the most popular player on a team because they have all this attention.
But for the greater good.
She's
Christian Laettner joined for the greater good.
How do you know that? How do you know
Christian
that?
Laettner joined because it was a rule.
One college basketball player, but he had just made that incredible shot against Kentucky, and the world loved him. He joined because it was a popularity
I coached
contest.
2 Olympics. You can't get a ticket from now for the next 20 years to an Olympic event. They don't need people to sell tickets and grow the game. They need people to win a damn gold medal.
Well, the U.S. is going to win gold,
All right,
silver,
Gary,
and bronze.
thanks for
But that's
having
my
me.
point.
We're moving on.
I think, and I want to say this, is she good enough to be on an Olympic team? She is, as are others. But that committee has a decision to make. And they don't sit in there going, oh, she's got to be on there because she's so popular in the growth of the game. They're looking at a pool of players who have put in their time and have gone overseas and played every summer and put in their time with USA Basketball. And so I get it. Caitlin Clark will have many, many opportunities to be on an Olympic team, and I firmly believe that. I have no problem with the team that was selected.
Good morning. I'm a high school basketball player, but one day I want to become a coach, and I was wondering what advice each of you had for becoming a college coach.
Why?
Run now.
Why? Why? What? I'll ask you a question. What benefits do you get out of coaching?
I think I love the game. I honestly probably want to play or coach in it as long as I possibly could. And I see, I love working with, whether right now, I coach little kids or anything. I just love basketball. So I feel yeah.
Well, then I would say, first of all, every kid, every human being needs to have something they're passionate about, regardless of what it is. So if teaching and helping people get better is a passion of yours, then I would try to do that for as long as you can do it, and do it in a way that you don't compromise what it is that you believe in for the sake of winning. So how do you do that? That's a tough thing to navigate. But best advice I could ever give to anybody who wants to be a coach is understand that if you do have a family, let's say down the road, you're giving up time with your own family, and you're going to be ending up spending more time with other people's kids than you will with your own kids or your own family, and you can't be surprised by that. It's a tough life to be a coach, and those people, generally speaking, are counting on you to be everything for them, and it's a drain, and it takes a lot of support. So as long as you know what you're getting into, I would say go for it.
Kim?
I think coaching has the highest of highs and the lowest of lows. There's so many professions that if you have a bad day, we don't know about it, do we? If a teacher screws up, and we don't know. If a CEO makes a decision, we don't know about it. But in athletics, we are the window that everybody has an opinion about. You know, I give this analogy. I wasn't going to be a coach. My degree is in business administration. I finished the '84 Olympics, and I'm at Louisiana Tech working on an MBA that the NCAA awarded me. And I got talked into coaching, and here I am, 40-plus years later, doing what I thought I was going to do in the business world. I will tell you this, having 2 kids, you can't do it by yourself. You have to have help. Then you also have to be very thick-skinned. I have a rule. I do not have social media. I was ignorant, and my first job at Baylor, they taught me message boards? Hell, I read that for about a month because they love me. And then one day I read something that said, Kim Mulkey gives out birth control pills. Well, what did I want to do? I became angry, and I wanted to find that person. And then I realized, you know what? This is some bad stuff, and I've never, ever opened a computer to see social media. But I have protection. I have coaches and people who say, when you go to a press conference, be prepared for this because this is what's out there. So you have to be thick-skinned. You see us on the sideline, win games, lose games, coach some of the greatest players ever. What you don't see is behind the scene, the sleepless nights, the lost recruits, the transfer, the losses after games. I have learned to do this better, and you better remember this. We're all going to lose. We're going to lose recruits. We're going to lose championships. We're going to lose games. When the losses linger with you longer than the wins, you got to get perspective. And my perspective are 2 children that when I walked in that door, they love me no matter what.
And they give you millions of dollars for putting up with that crap.
Rachel?
You mentioned there was a story behind the sparkles, so I got to hear the story behind the sparkles.
Yeah. I've always liked to dress nice. I think as a professional, that's our boardroom when we walk on that court. And you're not going to walk into a boardroom with stockholders and people with flip-flops on and warm-ups on. So I've always dressed nice, even when I was an assistant. When I got to LSU, this is the true story. My assistant, Jennifer, who is here, She was in a boutique in Baton Rouge, and the owner said, we've always kept up with Coach Mulkey, and she always dresses nice. Would she ever consider wearing something like this? And she pulled out all these sparkles. And Jennifer laughed and said, I don't know, but I'll take it to her and see. Well, when it was dropped off at the house, I said, I am not doing that. No. I said, no, no, no. And I just kept being, is the word pressured? And they caught me at a weak moment. And I said, you know, I'm going to do that one jacket for this game. And then it just got outrageously crazy. I keep doing it for this reason. You talk about grow the game. We have more season ticket holders at LSU that don't know a damn about basketball. They come to see what I'm wearing. Now, isn't that a hell of a note? But we took their money and we sold them season tickets, and their kids run around there. So I guess you could say I took one for the team.
Given that, Gino, have you considered sparkles?
Not outwardly. I'm not there yet.
We have time for one more.
Hi, I'm Lily. I'm a high school student, and I was wondering what's like the biggest and most common challenge that you see in your players that prevents them from performing their best?
I don't know who else wanted to
Common.
have the last question, but she had the best one today.
Common that I see in 99.9% of the players that come to college to play. Fear. If I could eliminate one thing, whenever one of my players is struggling with something, first thing I do is sit down with them and ask them, what are you afraid of? Generally, that gets to the heart of it. Fear of failure, fear of being criticized, fear of not living up to other people's expectations. They come to college having lived a life of only being in situations where they can be successful and everybody loves them and isn't it great and it's all about your self-esteem and it's okay, honey, and all that. Then they get to college and real life smacks them in the face and they can't handle it. So what happens? They don't take risks. They don't want to make that extra pass. They don't want to take a chance on a steal. They don't want to do anything that may cause someone to criticize them because they look bad. So they stay in this little cocoon of theirs and never really fully reach their potential unless you unlock that. So my advice would be, if you can eliminate the fear of failure, because there's only really two things that motivate kids and adults. There's fear and desire. So if you operate in life with a fear of, oh my God, oh my God, oh my God, what if, then you're never going to be any good at anything. If you operate in life with a desire, I want to be this, I want to be that, I want to accomplish this, I want to accomplish that, and I'm not going to let anything get in my way, then you're going to be tremendously successful. So choose desire over fear.
Kim, last word to you.
I would say patience and time management. I think a lot of the patience kind of intertwines with kids transferring all the time. How many back in our days of coaching early in our careers did we watch the All-American as a freshman struggle and tell them to do what? Trust the process. And by the time you leave here, you will be an All-American. That's out the window with transfer portal now. So patience, I think kids want things today, yesterday. The second thing, time management, the amount of time their day is controlled by basketball. Not just the game itself, study hall. You know, I got to go to talk to compliance. Every day, their little world is mapped out for them, and they feel like their brain is just not going to be able to handle it. And then about your sophomore year, it starts slowing down. So I would say those two things.
Well, I have failed at time management. We are over our limit. So thank you both so much. It's been an honor and a privilege. Thank you for being here.